Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to The Pulse, your ultimate source for all things gaming. I'm June, and today we've got some massive updates that you won't want to miss. From surprising layoffs and game-changing patches to exciting new releases, we're breaking down the latest news that's shaking up the gaming world. On today's episode, we'll be diving into the shocking layoffs at Evening Star, a mass exodus at Annapurna Interactive, and some major changes to Helldivers 2 that could completely alter your gameplay experience. Plus, we'll take a closer look at why Starfield and Diablo 4 are missing from Xbox Game Pass, the latest on Final Fantasy XVI's PC release, and much more. Strap in, because it's going to be a packed episode. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out on the Pulse. Now, let's get into it. Alright, starting us off, let's talk about some major changes over at Annapurna Interactive. The entire staff at the indie game publisher has resigned after owner Megan Ellison walked away from negotiations to make the gaming division independent. This comes straight from a report by Bloomberg's Jason Schreier, who spoke with insiders familiar with the situation. So, what exactly happened? Ellison, who also owns Annapurna Pictures, decided to pull the plug on discussions about making the gaming arm its own thing. As a result, the entire staff jumped ship, leaving Annapurna Interactive in a bit of a freefall. This is significant because Annapurna Interactive has been behind some of the most critically acclaimed indie titles in recent years. In a statement to Bloomberg, Ellison assured everyone that Annapurna is still committed to its current projects and partnerships. She mentioned they're looking to expand their presence in the interactive space and take a more integrated approach to storytelling across film, TV, gaming, and even theater. So, despite the reassurance, some developers are still scrambling to figure out who their new points of contact are, while Hector Sanchez, president of Annapurna Interactive, said they will replace the staff that resigned. There's no timeline yet for when that might happen, so there's still a lot of uncertainty about the future of these projects. In related news, it looks like Remedy's upcoming projects, Control 2 and the Alan Wake adaptations, won't be affected by this shakeup. Remedy's communications director, Thomas Pua, clarified on Twitter that their deals are with Annapurna Pictures and not Annapurna Interactive, so everything is still on track. This is a massive shakeup in the indie gaming world, and it's going to be really interesting to see how Annapurna Interactive handles this transition. With their impressive track record, there's a lot riding on how they move forward. We'll keep you updated as the story develops. Annapurna Interactive's shakeup is certainly a big one, but unfortunately, it's not the only unsettling news we're hearing from the gaming world right now. Evening Star, the studio behind Penny's Big Breakaway, has just announced a round of layoffs. CTO Hunter Bridges took to Twitter to share the news, stating that 6 team members have been laid off due to the volatile market conditions in the games industry and the operational realities of the business. He emphasized that this was not a decision they wanted to make, but despite their best efforts to secure another project, they had no choice but to part ways with some incredibly talented team members. It's a tough time for Evening Star, which was formed in 2018 by veterans of the Sonic Mania development team. Their debut title, Penny's Big Breakaway, brought some fresh energy to the 3D platforming genre, pulling inspiration from Sonic, 3D Mario, and even a little bit of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. But despite positive reviews and a very positive user rating on Steam, the game hasn't been a commercial hit, with peak concurrent players barely crossing 500 on the platform. This is just part of a larger trend we've seen this year. As you remember, so far in 2024, nearly 13,000 developers and publishers have lost their jobs, and that number is still rising. As we previously reported, Microsoft also recently laid off 650 more Xbox staff, adding to the 1,900 layoffs earlier this year, bringing their total to over 2,500 for the year. Thankfully, no games have been canceled or studios closed, but it's another blow to the industry. Speaking of changes, Microsoft is also making some significant shifts, but this time it's with their flagship service, Xbox Game Pass. Earlier this summer, Microsoft confirmed that Xbox Game Pass, which has long been a standout feature for Xbox users, is undergoing some controversial changes. While PC users still get access to day one games at the $11.99 price point, console players are seeing the biggest shakeup. The introduction of a new standard tier at $14.99 means that day one games will now only be available for those subscribing to the ultimate tier priced at $19.99. I think the biggest disappointment here is that major titles like Call of Duty Black Ops 6 or Diablo 4 won't be available on the standard tier. Instead, these and other popular games are going to be reserved for the Ultimate users. The full list of games available through Xbox Game Pass Ultimate includes heavy hitters like Starfield, Diablo 4, and Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, with the first two having launched over a year ago. Here's a full list of all the titles available on Ultimate. So mind you, this list is only for Game Pass. This excludes the 96 games from the EA Play library, which also requires the Ultimate tier. What's strange is that you'd expect major titles like Starfield or Diablo 4 to at least be included in the standard tier, even if they're not day one releases. Instead, they're locked behind the more expensive Ultimate plan. So the Xbox division seems to be in a strange place right now. Faced with declining interest in its hardware and an overall reduction in playtime hours across the industry, they've not only raised prices but have also followed suit with other publishers by laying people off. But it's not only Microsoft that's in a weird spot. Sony made waves this week by setting the price of the PS5 Pro at a crazy $700. And another surprising twist, Microsoft has started launching their games on PlayStation platforms. Now, if you remember a couple years back during their whole battle of acquiring Activision Blizzard with the FTC, Microsoft stated that Sony's platform fees would harm Xbox. But now here we are. And then the big cherry on top is that Microsoft announced that the once Xbox exclusive Indiana Jones will now also be available on the PlayStation 5. With all of these changes, Microsoft's strategy is raising a lot of questions. From shifting subscription plans to launching games on rival platforms, it's clear the company is trying to adapt. But will it be enough to keep Xbox in the game? We'll be following this closely, so stay tuned for more updates. So let's put the Microsoft Game Pass changes and the frustration it's causing behind us, and let's talk about Helldivers 2. Things are starting to look up. Developer Arrowhead Game Studios has kicked off a 60-day plan to get the game back on track, starting with a massive patch aimed at making the game fun again. Arrowhead has recently released patch 01.001.10, and for the non-binary nerds out there, that's actually converted to the letter L. Players have nicknamed this Buff Divers due to the significant power increases across the board. Primary weapons, stratagems, and anti-tank tools have all received huge buffs. Fans had been vocal about the game's balance issues for a while, particularly with weapons like the Eruptor and the Flamethrower, which had seen nerfs in previous updates. Now, those weapons are more powerful than ever. Heavy armor enemies like the Hulk and the Charger have also been made more vulnerable, while player favorites like the Railgun, Flamethrower, Eruptor, and Breaker have received substantial boosts. In general, both the automatons and Terramines have been tuned down, creating a more explosive, fast-paced experience for players. But don't get too comfortable. You can still get stomped, scorched, or shot if you're not careful. After the patch's release, creative director Johan Pilstad took to Twitter to see how the fans were reacting. One fan commented that these changes should have been made months ago, and Pilstad agreed. Another fan requested that the recent buffs not be nerfed, to which Pilstad responded, "Nerfing, especially when it comes to damage, is an unimaginative way to tweak a game." So far, this update seems to be a hit with players, and it's all part of Arrowhead's 60-day recovery plan for Helldivers 2. In fact, another balance patch is already on the way, as revealed in the recent patch notes. It looks like this is just the beginning for Helldivers 2 as Arrowhead continues to fine-tune the experience and bring even more improvements to the game. If you're like me and you've been waiting for the perfect time to jump back into Helldivers 2, right now might be that moment. Speaking of excitement, the gaming community is buzzing about the upcoming Nintendo Switch 2, and developers are already preparing to bring their games to the next-gen console, even before it's officially announced. The latest developer to jump into the hype is Pathia Games, best known for their popular life sim RPGs My Time at Portia and My Time at Sandrock. They've just announced their next game in the series, My Time at Evershine. This new entry aims to build on the successes of its predecessors with the fresh art style, a single-player campaign, city management mechanics, and even multiplayer co-op, taking the cozy game experience to the next level. What's really catching everyone's attention, though, is the strong possibility that My Time at Evershine could be coming to Nintendo's next console, the Switch 2. Pathia hinted that the game may launch on future Nintendo platforms yet to be announced, which has sparked even more speculation. While we don't know if they've received official confirmation from Nintendo, it seems likely that the studio is planning ahead for its next generation, especially after the success of Portia and Sandrock on the current Switch. Something that's worth noting is that Pathia has also launched a Kickstarter campaign to help fund My Time at Evershine. From creative director Zifei Wu explained that My Time at Sandrock costs a lot, like $12 million a lot, and still counting. And they expect Evershine's budget to be in the same range, which is why extra funding will help expand on features and gather early feedback from the community. As for the Switch 2 itself, Nintendo has been pretty tight-lipped, only confirming that they won't be releasing a new console until after their current financial year, which ends in March 2025. There's also been a lot of speculation about what the new console will offer. Rumors suggest magnetic Joy-Cons, backward compatibility for physical and digital games, and improved hardware that could keep Nintendo competitive with other platforms. While we're still waiting for an official announcement from Nintendo, the excitement for the Switch 2 is only growing. With developers like Pathia Games already preparing their titles for the next generation, it's clear that the future of gaming on Nintendo is looking brighter than ever. Over on the PS5, Final Fantasy XVI players are dealing with some frustrating issues that have left the game nearly unplayable. Since the recent PS5 firmware update, players have been reporting widespread technical problems in Final Fantasy XVI. From visual glitches like flickering white lines and rainbow artifacts to full system crashes. The Final Fantasy XVI subreddit has exploded with players sharing their experiences and looking for solutions, but so far, fixes have been temporary at best. What's odd is that these issues don't seem limited to Final Fantasy XVI, with other PS5 games also experiencing stutters and visual glitches. Final Fantasy XVI is still a big prominent issue as players have tried everything from clearing their system cache to reinstalling the game, but the glitches still persist. Neither Sony nor Square Enix has commented on the problem yet, but with Final Fantasy XVI being such a major PS5 exclusive, we're expecting a resolution soon. While Final Fantasy XVI players on PS5 are dealing with their technical issues, there's some good news for those who have been waiting patiently to experience the game on PC. After much anticipation and a bit of confusion, the PC release of Final Fantasy XVI has finally come. It's been a very long road to get here. When Final Fantasy XVI was originally revealed, Square Enix hinted that a PC version was in the works. In fact, the original trailer even stated the game would be also available on PC. But shortly after, that message was mysteriously scrubbed, leaving players to wonder about the game's status as a PS5 exclusive. Now let's fast forward to November 2022. And things got even more interesting when a PS5 DualSense controller advertisement claimed that Final Fantasy XVI would only be a PlayStation exclusive for 6 months. This sparked even more speculation, but producer Naoki Yoshida stepped in to deny the rumors, going as far to say nobody said a word about a PC version releasing. However, this statement didn't hold up for long. By February 2023, Yoshida clarified that Final Fantasy XVI was indeed a 6-month timed exclusive on PS5, but a PC version wouldn't be ready right after that period because development couldn't even start until the PS5 version launched in June of that year. Now, after a little bit more than a year of waiting, PC players finally get their chance to dive into the game. The official release date for Final Fantasy XVI on PC was September 17th and is currently available on Steam and the Epic Games Store. This PC launch also comes at a time when Square Enix is shifting its focus toward winning over PC users, stating that it wants to aggressively pursue this market. While a simultaneous release on PC and console might have been ideal, the wait is over for those who have held out. Alright, let's shift gears from fantasy to all-out warfare. Fans of the Battlefield series, get ready. There's big news on the horizon. What seems like out of nowhere, EA and the teams working on Battlefield have just dropped a bombshell. A brand new entry in the series in the works. It's expected to launch within the next year or two. The most exciting part? They're bringing Battlefield back to its roots with a modern setting, taking direct inspiration from two of the series' biggest hits, Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4. Vince Zampella, the new head of the Battlefield franchise, spoke with IGN, pointing to that golden era of Battlefield as the pinnacle of the series. Zampella said, "If you look back to the peak or the pinnacle of Battlefield, it's that Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4 era where everything was modern. The next Battlefield game will return to that core experience, focusing on what made these entries so popular: modern warfare, classic gameplay mechanics, and tight focused combat." Thanks to IGN, we also got our first glimpse of concept art for the new game. It shows a European city in flames, potentially hinting at the return of the fan-favorite Levolution system from Battlefield 4, where environments dynamically change during battles. While the details are under wraps, Zampella did confirm that the team is working on a pre-launch community program, with more details expected to be announced next year. After the mixed reception of Battlefield 2042, which eventually adjusted its features and gameplay based on player feedback, this return to modern warfare is shaping up to be a major course correction for the series. With the promise of classic Battlefield features and a focus on elements that made the franchise so beloved, fans are eagerly awaiting more news. As we wrap up today's news and updates, there's one last story that's sure to grab the attention of fans of co-op action RPGs and roguelites. A brand new studio, Pado Labs, has been formed by a team of developers with experience at some of the biggest names in the industry, including Capcom, Ubisoft, WayForward, and Riot Games. Their first project, titled Starlight Re, was just announced and set to launch on PC via Steam Early Access in 2025. This game promises a mix of Japanese action RPGs, Western roguelites, and social elements, all wrapped into a retro anime-inspired aesthetic from the 90s and 2000s. It's a unique blend of genres that could become something truly special. So here's some information on the game. It's set in the futuristic Nishi Island metropolis and the dreamlike virtual world of Somi. Starlight Re combines hyper-stylized combat with a vibrant city pop soundtrack to deliver a colorful and immersive experience. The game allows up to 4 players to team up in co-op combat, triggering spectacular magic combos and executing team plays, all while exploring its dynamic shared world. In addition to combat, Starlight Re will feature social elements with minigames and hangouts on online servers supporting dozens of players. The roguelike mechanics kick in with unlockable abilities, craftable gear, customizable outfits, and unpredictable charms that will keep each playthrough fresh and exciting. Pado Labs says their goal is to build a virtual world where players can have a meaningful role, make an impact, and foster a sense of belonging. It's clear they have big ambitions, and with their team's impressive pedigree, Starlight Re is definitely a game to keep an eye on. And that wraps up the news segment. Next up are new game releases. And that's a wrap for today's episode of The Pulse. We covered some major stories, from studio shakeups to exciting new releases and game-changing updates. But the conversation doesn't stop here. What are your thoughts on the Helldivers 2 buffs, or the return of Battlefield to its modern setting? Drop a comment below and let us know which story got you the most hype. And if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for all the latest in gaming news. Don't forget to ring the bell so you're the first to know when new episodes drop. Thanks so much for tuning into The Pulse, where we bring you the driving force behind the gaming industry. Until next time, keep playing, keep exploring, and we'll see you in the next episode.